Hello, greetings to you, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the T.O.T, the thoughts of the Incas. It's the only show where we talk about the realities of thoughts. I always tend to speak from my mind. I'm inspired by most of your thoughts and guided by God's wisdom. I'm your host, JAMM LEKI KUSH, and welcome to yet another episode. This marks our third episode, and henceforth, the T.O.T will be coming on this channel every Wednesday. So be on lookout. Ensure you do subscribe on my YouTube channel to get more of the thoughts of the Incas. Now, today I was thinking about a very simple thing, a very simple feature that we all have, the Navel. Yes, the Navel. Ever thought of where the Navel came from? The origin of that feature? It's connected with a number of things according to my thoughts. You see, in Genesis 2, 21 to 22. Now, let's get to Genesis 21 precisely, where God made Adam to sleep heavily. Then he took a rib out of him and closed up his flesh. So, hold on to that thought. There's something else we call surgery. I'm not so much conversant with science that I may know who invented, or rather who is said to have invented surgery, but interestingly, it was invented by God himself during creation. And the moment he took Adam's rib to make a woman out of him, that's when he initiated surgery. And what is that mark? You see, after every surgical experience, there's always a mark left. Hold your thoughts on that. I believe you're with me. You can see where I'm leading to. Now, the next thing I would like us to consider is whenever a child is born, they always experience a surgical operation upon them. Every child, the moment they're born, the very first minutes, there's something done. The cutting of the umbilical cord. I hope I got it right. The umbilical cord that detaches the baby from the mother. And that's how the Navel is formed, from how we know it. But now I want to take you back to I want to take you back to those two instances where I talked of Genesis 2, 21 to 22. And again, I talked of it talked of how the surgery was invented by God himself. With that same instance, it means when God covered up the flesh of oh my, don't mind me on that, pardon me, when God closed up the flesh of Adam, there definitely was a mark. Now, where was this rib gotten from? We all know the navel is usually right below, right at the abdomen of a human being, and right below the ribs. And the sausage rib was taken, was a lower rib from how we are made to understand. So it means the navel came to be that day when God took the rib out of Adam and went to create another human being. And now that, assuming he had created a human being and had remained to fit in the ribs, he also needed to create a surgical route through which he will fix the rib accordingly and then close up. And that's why both male and female get to have a navel. Now, how is this connected to the current, or rather the situations after creation? When it comes to birth, every child is usually attached to their mother, and once they get into the world, they are detached. So it means the navel has already been created when the baby was in the mother's womb, and the baby was feeding through that space. So it was the first opening. Tuko pamoja? You feel me? Am I thinking too much or tunaendanisha? Now, this navel is where the baby is fed from the mother's system when it's still in its formation. Now, during its formation, that's another part of creation. God creates us physically in our mother's womb. And during that creation, I suppose God also removes a rib from a certain man and creates it in a certain woman who is being formed as a baby girl. And in his formation, he usually forms a baby boy with an extra rib. And in also that process of formation, he usually take that rib and find a certain lady in whom he's going to fix that rib. And that's how they're going to be formed. They're going to be formed finally, and then they're born. They start growing and developing. Gradually, there's one thing we are called to when we grow up. Talk of the marriage. And in every marriage scenario, I hear of people say, "You're the rib of my rib, the flesh of my flesh." So the logic is, when God was creating this now grown-up lady and this now grown-up gentleman, he knew that he has taken a rib from a certain baby boy and has put it in a certain baby girl. And you see, the same thing that happened with Adam and Eve during their creation is the same thing that shall happen today during our creation at birth. And gradually we are made to find our own rib, because when God was done with surgery and operating Adam and Eve, he closed up with the navel, and he woke him up and made him look and appreciate the lady before. Now, we all know what happened after that, and it is said that since God made a woman for Adam and presented her to him, then this woman made the man sin against God. Well, since then Mungu alitujalia tukue sisi ndo tunajichagulia ama tunajitafutia. He never wants to take the blame, but now that's another story for another day. Back to the navel. So the navel, as we were in upon this, the navel therefore was the first mark, or rather, sijui nisemeaje, stitch. Watu madaktari nisaidieni hapa na manesi, manake you understand what I mean with the surgical operations venye huwa mnashona. So imagine the first surgery alikuwa saja. Wow, that rhymes. First surgery alikuwa saja. Anywho, God made the first surgery as per Genesis 2:21. And that's how the Navel feature was created. And that shall happen to date, because the first thing that is done in a human, the first surgery that is done in any human, is that of cutting the umbilical cord. And it's the only natural surgery. It's kind of natural in a way, because they just need to somehow tie a certain string, from what I hear, and then they cut the umbilical cord. Then it's going to heal naturally, because it's always the first process. And before that navel is crossed and cut, separated with the umbilical cord, God has already put the rib in a woman that is meant for a certain baby boy. So in my thinking, I now understand why they say you should get to marry someone younger. If you're a man, you should go for someone who is a bit younger, because logically, man was created first. Then after he was created, a rib was taken and it was put into ladies. So that means your rib was given to someone who was born after you. How about that? Share your thoughts, and let's keep thinking and overthinking in a positive dimension.